Hello and welcome once again, students. This is a brake caliper, front axle on an LDV van. Now, this will be relevant to Land Rover because this itself is of a Defender. Okay, they do fit the axles. This has a single line to the caliper. Some of them have a twin line. And this is an older caliper design which also has a single line. Now, you can see the blank for the doubles there. However, this one's a single. And this is also off a Defender. Right, a caliper here, you can see that this is the bracket off the Defender. This is a twin line system. As we can see here, it's got twin lines and it's a little bit more of a complicated caliper. If you ever come across one of these calipers, you need to bleed out the pistons first before you bleed out the main body. And I'll show you this in a later tutorial. The twin lines here you'll see on some Discovery vehicles. The calipers might not be the same as this. There's quite a few different systems about. I've bolted the Defender caliper on here to show you a few things. Now, you'll want to be paying attention to this. This type of retainer has a bar, springs and a split pin, or a cotter pin if you're in America, which is easy to remove using a pair of pliers. Slide it through and off comes the spring. You remove both of them. This enables you to then remove the pads from the caliper. Now, there's two different lengths of these pins and springs, which depends on whether you've got vented discs or not. This one is for non-vented discs, and this set is for vented discs. The pins are longer. The second type of retaining pin is two split pins with anti-rattle clips, which is these. Now, you'll need to be looking at your vehicle to see which ones you do have, and then you can go ahead and order them when you get your pads for your calipers. Rather than actually using holes in the pads itself like we have in the first set, we're looking at these anti-rattle clips that are retaining the pads in place. They're quite easy to distinguish when you look at the vehicle. Whichever way you use it, either pad will fit the calipers, but you need the retaining clips for the right pads. Either way, both different types of pads have a tab on the center that you can wiggle, push the pistons back so you can slide your pads out. So I'm just using this as an example, and this is a really shitty pipe and that needs replacing, and the bracket's in a bad state as well. This is a flare nut wrench which you can buy from Halfords or somewhere, and it's excellent for undoing unions on calipers or brake components because it wraps itself around. You don't want to use an open-ended spanner, they slip. Alright, well, that's just crack that off and get this off. Before removing the caliper, the brake pipe needs to be taken off, the unions, and I'm going to be replacing these pipes. In a tutorial coming up, I'll show you the difference on flares and how to bend piping up and the tools that are needed so you can achieve a decent set of brake pipes for your vehicle. Right, I'll briefly cover this. The removal of calipers, you need a special bihexagonal socket, either 13 or 14 millimeters, which will fit over these special bolts. Okay, now you need a long bar to be able to crack them off. I will emphasize here that these bolts holding the caliper on are tensile and they're the right size. Do not use just normal bolts. There are Muppets about that will use a normal bolt with a normal head, and it's very difficult to actually get a socket onto them. It's not only the head that's important, but it's also the shank or the shaft of it fits exactly right with the thread. So now the caliper's off, I'm actually going to do a wheel bearing service and some new discs and new calipers. And of course a total bleed up of the system, because the stuff that's come out of this system is absolutely filthy.